Heyo! It's Jordon Bourgeault here from Airbrush, and we are taking a look at part 2 of how to paint a goalie mask Venom design. If you haven't seen part 1, click here, watch that, get all caught up. But if not, in the first video, we paper pre-masked off the goalie mask, drew the design, cut and painted the background design of the mask, remasked and painted the teeth and the eyes, and last thing we did was paint the gums and remask them. And here we are. Get your notepads out, suckers. It's time for part 2. So the first thing we do is unmask all the in-betweens of the teeth and the tongue. So now I spray the background completely black. So for the tongue, I use the exact same colors as I did for the gums. I have 4 different color steps here. I put the second color step down first as my base coat. Then I come in with the first lightest color and I shape everything. Then I go back to the second color step, the base coat, and then work to dark from there. I only use black a tiny bit and at the very base to blend it back into the jet black background. For my highlight color, I use the first lightest color step mixed with white. Now I remask, but instead of putting all those tiny pieces back in, I just mask up the entire completed inside section. Now we are moving on to the main sections, the actual Venom alien skin, and this is a great time to use the backplate as a testing ground. If I'm not completely sure on my painting process, it's nice to have a small section like this to do as a test before attacking the more important part of the actual mask. So I work this section the same way as I did the gums. I start with the middle color of 5 color steps, and then I work brighter, but this time I work brighter with 2 different color steps. Then I move straight into the 4th and 5th darkest color step, which is a dark blue that's almost all the way black. We'll look at this a little more in depth now that we're on the larger section of the actual goalie mask. So now I unmask the final section, and because it is the last section, I no longer have to care about salvaging these pieces. So just like I did on the back plate, I start basing with the middle blue. This time, however, I went right to the first color step because I thought that the second one wasn't noticeable enough and was a bit of a redundant step. I ended up not loving this decision though, and ended up having to come back in with the middle base color to bring everything back down because it looked a little too bright. Then I moved back to the first color step and popped the brightest sections, which in the end just helped build a little more shape and depth anyway. Next I go to the 4th color step, which is a darker blue. And this time I'm really using the shapes that I've pre-laid out for myself and really digging into the deep pockets and really bringing the depth. The lighter colors help bring everything forward. This is going to help drop everything back and really creates that nice texture. And now we go with the darkest color step, which is basically black, just has a little bit of blue in it to keep it a little more natural looking. And I'm just moving around and I'm picking the very deepest pockets and the very darkest areas. This is where all those sort of random lines and shapes you made before really come to life, really create like a good texture that pops. The top sections really come forward and these dark sections will really push back, as long as you don't overdo it and you know not to cover up your last step entirely. Now I come in with the highlights, which is the first color step mixed with white. And you really want to reduce these colors. Anytime you're using white or white mixed with something, it's really chalky, so just reduce. If you're having problems building up on the tip or it's not spraying nice, add more reducer. Even if you think you got a lot, more reducer. Now the best part, let's unwrap this present and see how she looks. I unmask everything except for the tongue because it still needs a drop shadow, so I do that and then unmask it as well. Because of the hard cut lines, you'll sometimes get a high point on the edge of the paint against the masking line. So I take Final Wipe and give it all a quick wipe to try and break off any of those high edges. So when you cut your design out of paper pre-mask and paint up to it, you get a really unnatural looking edge, which I'm not happy with. So I use a brush to paint over that unnatural looking edge and hide it. So what I generally like to do is take my second lightest color and do that on the highlighted edge, and take my second darkest color and do that on the darkest edge. So on the top it looks like a nice highlight, which in some spots blends into the base color, and on the bottom it gives it a nice like reflective light sort of highlight on the back edge. And then certain spots where I want the edge to really pop, like on the edge of the tongue, I'll use the highlight color. And then on the blue I do the same thing. I'm coming in on all the darker edges with my fourth color step, the dark blue. For the highlight edge I use the second color step, just slightly brighter than the base color. I also use this color to sharpen some of the details inside and pop some of those textures even more. Every time I've come in with the airbrush here, I just have a reduced out black in it so I can sort of drop back any sections that I need to before popping the highlighted edges. Which for the teeth I use the middle brown color for the darker edge, and I use the lightest color step for the highlighted edge. And the process is the same for the eyes. I use the middle darker color for the darker edge, and I use the second lightest color for the highlight edge. The customer wanted his name incorporated on the back plate, so I thought it would be cool to make it look like it was part of the alien skin. I used my vinyl cutter to cut out the letters. I quickly sprayed in the blue, unmasked it. Then when I was brushing in the edges, I connected the letters to the rest of the Venom skin. And I continue to do the same edging that I did for the rest of the mask. And airbrush in a drop shadow behind the lettering. So we're getting close to finish, but for a final added effect, we are going to add some slobber to his tongue and around his mouth. This is once again a great time to reference real life material like dog slobber or something like that. For the colors here, I'm using a middle light gray to lay out all of the slobber, and I'm even using it like pretty transparently so it's not completely opaque, so you can see through it like you could with water. And then I use all the way white to highlight it and bring out some of the brighter spots. I also go and pop some highlights on the rest of the mask while I'm at it. I now brush in white on the highlight edge of the slobber to make it really sharp and make it pop. And last but not least, it's time to sign this sucker because she's done. Well, alright guys, I hope you liked it, and if you did, remember to hit the like and subscribe button to see more videos in the future. Also follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.